Friends, thanks so much for joining us. Your time is precious, and you choosing to spend some time with me and the Madison team learning and talking about authentic outbound means a lot. And hopefully today's webinar is valuable and sweet for you to be a part of. A big caveat at the top. There are a lot of ways to sell. A lot of people have strong opinions about it, being more aggressive, picking up the phone, dialing for dollars, go, go, go. I'm not here to have that argument. The numbers game on sales, that's not who I am, who we are, or how we think outbound is supposed to be done authentically. Hopefully you're here because you share part of that worldview. And yet you want to grow your business. You're here because you want to sell more, you want to serve more, you want to bring in more dollars to your family, your firm, your colleagues. And we're going to enter into some of that tension, wanting to grow, but also not wanting to be super salesy. And then we think we're going to offer an alternative way, something that's a little bit more authentic, a little bit more thoughtful, serving and adding value at every touch. That's what we'll be talking about. We've got about 60 minutes. I talk fast, but we've also got a lot of ground to cover. And I hate boring webinars. And since your time is valuable, we're going to go quick. There will be Q&A at the end, and I don't have a hard stop. So just want to share that at the front end. That being said, who am I? My name is Paul Girgis. I'm a marketing director here at Madison, been with the firm about the past 6 months. Previous to my role here, I led sales and biz dev at a startup management consultancy. I did a lot of things wrong. I was using a different playbook that didn't really work, at least for us and for me, didn't feel great. And so I think a lot of the lessons that we will share today are based on some of that experience, as well as a lot of iteration on this with Sean. And recently, I've got 12 nieces and nephews. One of my nephews visited us in Chicago. We have a guest room, which is such a gift. But he walked into our guest room and he said, "This is too small. I don't want to stay here." Kids say the darndest things. At Madison, we are a marketing firm. We help professional services firms grow. We do that in 3 different ways. Really, it starts with getting clear on your point of view, which we'll talk about. Turning those ideas from your point of view into authority marketing. More often than not, that means content in short form on LinkedIn. And then third and finally, in pursuit of helping you become a trusted advisor, when folks or potential prospective clients raise their hands, there are creative and respectful ways for them to raise their hands when they are ready. That's who we are as a firm based up in Evanston in Chicagoland. If you're here, you probably have already heard of us, but if not, just want to make sure that box was checked. Now, to get started, I want to start with what not to do. And it's from a little movie from Swingers. The plot of the movie doesn't really matter, but it does feature a dashing young Jon Favreau, who is his name Mikey in the movie. He meets a girl at a bar, they hit it off, and he proceeds to do the following. Again, this is what not to do. That night, he calls immediately. He leaves a message, but his number gets cut off at the end. He immediately calls back. He rambles. The machine cuts him off again. Thankfully, he gets his number out. And he ends his third call in 2 or 3 minutes. It's a very painful scene. He should be done. He does walk away from the phone. And then he drops this. No context. I just got out of a 6-year relationship. It's not you, it's me. I'm sorry. This is Mike. He says that. It is painful. He does call back a 5th time. Please call me back. I'd really like to explain in person. And then you find out she's been listening on the voicemail in the 1990s the whole time and says, "Please don't ever call me back again." Now, it's a painful comparison, but not entirely unfamiliar in the working world. This is Sean's real inbox. I think you've probably experienced some aspect of this. Getting your inbox filled with cheap, inauthentic messages saying, "We can help you grow your firm," in ways that they don't know you, but they're selling you something. I think this problem is only exacerbated by the prospecting tools that I think are out there on the tech side of things. We've seen it before. Our clients have seen it before. We don't think it works. Practically, here's what that playbook usually looks like. You create a lead list, maybe a list of people you might want to sell to who you think, hey, this is a good idea. Maybe you even do the extra legwork of warming up a domain so it doesn't get blacklisted, which I think in and of itself is you're doing it wrong if that's the work you're trying to do or the tactic you're trying to take. And then you spam people with 5 to 7 messages in 21 days. This may work, but for a lot of the folks that we serve in our circles, they simply just aren't comfortable with it. And I think a reason people aren't comfortable with it is because as someone in professional services, you want to love and serve your clients or your potential clients. And so as we think about business development, as we think about outbound, again, it's rooted in one of this idea and a few more ideas, but it's about serving, not about selling. It's about adding value in pursuit of becoming a trusted advisor and being valued and trusted as a trusted advisor. So with all that being said, what are a few key principles, a few baseline ideas about what outbound looks like? Where do we start? It starts with this. You can't microwave trust. We're focused here on medium to long-term relationships, not doing something in Q2 to hit your quota next week. And trust takes time. The goal here is to plan for relationships that span years, not just campaigns that span weeks. Again, if you're here because you need to hit Q2 quota, you might find something here, but you might also have a bad time. If you're hoping to exceed your annual goal, thankfully, we've got half the year to go. And I think the things we talk about will help you, with the second half of this year. Secondly, the trick of earning trust is that there are no tricks. I think there are gimmicks and then there are tactics. We don't believe in gimmicks. I don't think you do either. A gimmick feels manipulative, it's bait and switchy, it's inauthentic. We do believe in tactics, offering value, trying to be helpful, always being respectful. And while those are, I'm realizing in the moment, those are a little buzzwordy, we'll get more specific on all those throughout the presentation. A good way to figure out the difference is how you feel when you've received a note or you've been on the receiving end of something. If you felt like it was cheap or gave you the ick, maybe it was a gimmick. It's a really bad pun for Sean. If you raised your eyebrows in surprise, curiosity, or maybe even being a little impressed, then it's a tactic. John, thanks for the bad emoji in the chat. Really appreciate that. We're in the business of hopefully doing thoughtful tactics, not gimmicks. Third principle, do things that don't scale. Especially for consultants, it's hard to serve at scale. While tech is great, it can make you efficient. You can load 1,000 names and messages into an email platform and send out the same message to them all. That's not what I do. It's not what I want to do. It's not the type of marketer or business professional I want to be. I don't want to sell things that sell that way. Professional services are definitely not sold in that way, at least in our arena, in the perspective we're taking on the world. No thanks. We want to help focus on individuals, connecting a person to a person, more or less one at a time. Truly, quality over quantity, authenticity over volume. So, going from there, implicit in being a trusted advisor is actually being good at what you do and knowing your stuff and having a high bar of excellence and execution. I can't help you be really good at what you do. Hopefully you're really good at what you do and your clients love you for the excellence of your work and you have some reps and you know what you're doing. We can't help you with that. What we can help you with is encouraging you to do the immediate next thing. And that is getting clear on your point of view. We love a point of view here at Madison, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. The thing is, there are a lot of accountants out there. There are a lot of consultants out there. There are a lot of people who probably do stuff that's similar to what you do. A point of view is what helps you stand apart from the 100 other people that do what you do. So I'm just going to go around briefly talk about it. It's who you serve, really your ideal client profile. It's why you exist, a combination of your values and the dent you want to make in the universe. It's how you speak, like your tone of voice, the emojis you use, how archetype of tone or like character you may play online, if you will. And then what you believe. And that is most important because at the core of what you believe is your unified theory. Admittedly, unified theory, it's a little nebulous. However, I'm going to say this slowly because it's really important. Your unifying theory explains and grounds your perspective on your client's problems. Again, it's your perspective on your client's problems. Why their problems are happening, how it's tied to some trend in the world, macroeconomically or in their city or in some aspect of their industry. And then getting to the root causes of their issue and why they're facing the scenario that they are, or how, like, what is the reality of their scenario? And then it ties your rationale to why it's true. Please hear me. Like, I'm not starting with solutions. Starting with solutions is not the way to do this. Understanding their problem, figuring out what your unified theory is or your point of view is, and then connecting that to your solution is the arc that we are going to and pursuing with your point of view and with your unified theory. Because if you can start at the root cause of their problems, you're not starting with your solutions, you're not starting with your pretty deck, you're not starting with your fancy team, you're starting with their problems. It's grounding them in their reality and what they need. And your unified theory helps give you language and perspective and nuance, again, to how you see their problem. It helps you show that you've seen the movie before that they're experiencing, whether it's their problem or their industry. And if you can get clients to buy into your perspective about their problem, they're more likely to be open to your solution in particular. We have more slides or more questions to get into crafting your unified theory. We won't spend much time on here. We will send the deck afterwards, but did just want to show we've thought about this. There are some ways that you can approach answering your unified theory because it'll influence everything else. Again, the point is to get to your point of view because it informs everything else. So when you have your point of view, your unified theory, and you believe in these key principles, where do you start? Kaylee, great question. I think, what are some techniques you use to suss out the client's problem and areas and pain points before getting into the solution? Great question. I think I'll point you to a couple places. One, on our resources page, we do have an article talking about how to get to your point of view. And then there are questions that I can send you afterwards that are honestly the questions that we use in our point of view workshop that we do with clients. If I don't follow up with you, please text or DM me. Glad you're here. So glad you're here. So where do you start? We believe in starting from the inside out with the folks that you know best, who've worked with you, who are the warmest or current clients, and then working your way out to cold. A lot of folks start with cold, and we'll hit on that. That's sort of the furthest out from the center of our diagram. It's also where a lot of our today's webinar focuses in that cold aspect. However, we would be remiss, or we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't remind you to do the things to work the relationships that are warmest to you. How do you work your way out? So we have this pretty diagram, and we think about it in concentric circles. First, we expand existing accounts with clients that you're currently working with, sell them next or work with them next. Why? Because it is 6 to 8 times easier to sell an existing clients than it is to close a new one. However, only expand projects in ways that actually serve them. Don't upsell or solve problems they don't actually need. Listen, if you're a BD person on this call who isn't as close to the work, maybe your team does more of the work, a thing that you can do is set up regular checkpoints with the delivery team to see how projects are going. I saw this be effective in my previous role, just checking in, hey, how are projects going? How are you multi-threading? What's the next step with the next deal? If you're a consultant, do excellent work. When the time is right, explore the next project. There's an entire book written on this called Never Say Sell. It's worth reading. I opened it up as part of this work, and that book really focuses on expanding accounts. It's really good. It's Never Say Sell. The next bucket is client referrals. People who have seen your work, they know you, they can talk about you. This matters because what other people say about you is more important than you say about yourself. Gathering testimonials is a nice way of getting their feedback on you. We have testimonials on g2.com. I think practically a way you can actually take action on this is setting up some sort of regular cadence with your current clients. Maybe 1 to 2 times a year, I think at most feels appropriate, saying, hey, we want to grow. Do you know anyone? That can be internal to their firm. If it's a bigger firm, do you know other teams we should work with or talk to? Or other firms like theirs or people that they might know. Beyond that is warm referrals. Folks that might have seen your work or worked with you in previous roles can speak to your intelligence, your tone, your credibility. You probably get some of your business or most of your business from these folks, so don't forget about them. Also, warm introductions. People who haven't seen your work but can speak to your character, your intelligence, country club friend, family members, acquaintances, that guy you met at the conference. I'm going quickly over these two because it's probably another webinar, but just a reminder, don't forget about these folks. And then we get to cold outreach. We'll spend the rest of our time here today. Again, don't forget about the inner circles. they're important, but eventually if you have growth ambitions, getting beyond your warm circles is where we will spend the rest of our time today. It's time to take destiny into your own hands. A way of starting to do this work is through a thing that we call authority marketing. In a sentence, authority marketing is showing up consistently and thoughtfully, giving away your best ideas and content, always trying to add value. More often than not, this is posts on LinkedIn. This isn't a cop-out answer in business development. We think it plays a central role in this entire process because of touches. In sales, they talk about 5 to 7 touches, getting you your first call, 30 touches or something like that to actually close a deal. Authority marketing brings passive, asynchronous, trust-building touches to your business development opportunities. It's a material part of the work we do with our clients and what we believe for the following reasons. LinkedIn says only 5% of your market is in market at any time. Only 5% of people who could buy are ready to buy at any moment. Bain says that when they're ready to buy, 81% of folks buy with who's ever top of mind. It's less about manufacturing buying windows and much more about being top of mind when those buying windows emerge. Secondly, we believe the mere exposure effect is real, and that takes a lot of touches or activities. Most sales playbooks have these touches being active. I think that's where, it gets a bad rep because you're active, you're calling, you're texting, you're emailing, you're outbound, you're aggressive, you're direct. Authority marketing is a way to do that passively, asynchronously on folks' old time, opting in as they are interested. Today, in 2025, the best way that we think you can do that cheaply and freely and fastly and in a high quality way is short form ideas on LinkedIn. That might not be true in the future, but that's our take now, because ideally you're connected to your ideal client profile on LinkedIn. Your ideas are in their feed. You're not interrupting them. You're not harassing them in their inbox. Sometimes they'll read them, sometimes they won't, but they'll see your little face with your little headline, what you doing for who, and maybe one day they'll raise their hand or someone was talking to their friend at the bar and they'll be like, oh yeah, Paul posted about that or Kaylee posted about that. You should talk to that person. Third and finally, why we believe in authority marketing. A major part of being a trusted advisor is the quality of your ideas. That is perhaps what builds trust more than anything. And there's research to back it up. There are nice statistics from Edelman that's saying thought leadership builds trust. It enhances perception and helps you get more for what you are doing. So it adds up. For all those reasons, we believe in authority marketing. Being very generous with your ideas, it is the core idea of our idea of underneath authority marketing is giving away your secrets. And while consultants might scoff at this because of your proprietary ideas, the reality is that one of 3 things happen if you share your stuff on LinkedIn. 1, a prospect sees what you are doing and they simply can't implement themselves. They're busy, they are overloaded with client work, which is great for them, but they need help, and so they call you. Secondly, they try to take your idea and implement it yourself, but they realize quickly that pattern recognition and nuance and reps in the specificity of whatever you do are helpful, and then they come back to you. Third, they take your advice, they implement it by themselves, and they think you're a genius because you gave them the idea of what to do. You don't get paid, but you've made a champion or an advocate who might help you out in the future or refer you to someone else. Giving away your best ideas builds trust and sets high expectations. It also, so if the stuff you're giving away online is crappy, the outcomes they pay for might be crappy. If the ideas you give away are really great, they'll believe the outcomes that they pay for must also be incredible. Last reason why we believe in this, and hopefully you are starting to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. When folks do raise their hands because they've seen you 15, 20, 30 times on LinkedIn or elsewhere, they've drank your Kool-Aid. They share your worldview. It's like talking to an old friend. You don't have to sell. The conversation starts at the 80-yard line. I don't like sports metaphors, but you're pretty close to the end zone and you have to make a pass or a play. And by the end of it, you scored a touchdown. There's your sports reference. Hopefully you see why we believe in authority marketing at this point. But it doesn't do all the work for you. So when you want to actually reach someone new, be direct, send a message to a person you want to work with, how do you get in the door? That's where we'll go next. how you target who you target and what you say, actual outbound. Now, we see this as a toolkit. It's not super prescriptive. It's not do A through Z in this order for this person. I don't know your industry. I know professional services. I know that this is a trust-based sale. I know the following things I think work, but more than anything, as we go through these tools or these tactics, focus on the themes, adding value, being respectful, trying to serve other folks. The first lowest hanging fruit for outbound is what we call audience shaping. It's the less fancy way of putting this is sending LinkedIn connection requests to folks you hope to serve. It's a simple idea, but even like the smartest people I know don't necessarily do this actively. That's maybe something passive. But again, if you buy into authority marketing and you're posting often, that assumes that your ICP is on LinkedIn seeing your content. If you're posting a lot, you want the people you want to sell to see that content. So how do you do that? Build a lead list, send LinkedIn requests, build it in Clay, build it in a spreadsheet, send connection requests, keep track of them. Don't send an invite or don't send a message. No, you're simply inviting them into your world to connect to your metaphorical professional cocktail party on LinkedIn. And that's sort of it. But there is activity here of building and expanding your network. For Sean's seen accept rates of 20 to 40%. I think that's because his title is CEO. My rates are a little bit lower as a marketing director, but this is a way you can be active and start to build your network. Secondly, building a list of quote 200. This is a bit more narrow. I got this idea from an incredible group of folks at Indie Collective, which is a great group for independent consultants I would recommend looking into. The idea is simple. There are people that love you and trust you, and if you ask them for a favor, they probably would do you a favor. This list basically across these different categories helps you identify and categorize the different folks of people that, one, you could simply text and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. Do you know that I'm doing this thing? It would be helpful if you knew I was building this firm or this is who I helped. Secondly, there is a 3-step pro tip for Sales LinkedIn Navigator on the bottom outlined. You need Sales LinkedIn Navigator to do this. On the far left, you have this idea of a persona, which is you pick the seniority, a title, and a geography. Then you choose the best path in of connections of someone you respect and love, or could be a pathway into different pockets. In your list of 200, I've picked an old friend of mine, Dan Cumberland, on that middle section. And you basically see what the results are. Which persona does Dan Cumberland know? Sometimes I get 5 results, sometimes I get 50. And then you send a text to that person saying, hey, I looked through your LinkedIn. Here are 10 names that came up. Might you be willing to do an introduction, or do you have good relationships with any of these folks? That's a way to actually take action on your network for the people who know and love you. And you've done the thoughtfulness of who might do me a favor. Especially for folks earlier in their career or in their venture, this is a super helpful way to leverage your network. Now, let's say you actually want to send them something. Finally, I know, an actual message, email, text, DM. The message matters. I'm not going to be prescriptive about the medium. More than anything, it's important, we believe, to demonstrate you understand their world. Your unified theory informs your hot takes around their issues, their opportunities, and what matters to them. Specificity matters, expertise matters, clarity matters. Again, rooted in your point of view, who you serve, why, and how. Your first touch, this email or message is a way to promptly demonstrate that. The top email is from an accounting firm that reached out to Sean, who clearly understood the nuances of running an agency. Corporate structures, tangible upsides, not necessarily personalized to Sean at Madison, but highly relevant to running an agency owner. What does that look like for you and your firm? Not the individual level, but the folks that you try to serve in their industries and type of companies or issues. I'm going to skip the message I got from the bottom of the very personalized message from Mitch at Condo. Be specific and relevant. It pays off. I'm looking for advice. Perhaps you've heard of this one. It's helpful, just asking for advice, asking open-handedly, truly not selling. Especially if you're new to a role, a geography, an industry, building out a service line, expanding into a new market. Honestly, even if you're not. The idea is to be humble with the ask. I'm not selling. I'm looking for advice. Are you open to helping me? When Sean was starting Madison, he sent this message out to a few different people, truly asking for feedback, not wanting to waste the next 10 years of his life. And so getting feedback from real people. And when you're onto something, that person might start asking buying questions, moving from customer development into sales. That works, that happens. That's not the goal, but when and if it does happen, be ready to answer those questions. Finally, at the end of these calls, you can ask 2 questions. Is there anyone else you think I should talk to? And when I have something more concrete, would you be open to seeing it? They'll say yes. It's a great way to build a relationship. You're enrolling them as co-creators in whatever you're building. When you post on LinkedIn, they'll engage with your content because they feel like they're bought into your process. Ask for advice, see what happens. If you want to go even deeper, more specific, more value, more time, you can do a deep dive on an organization, an industry, or a major trend. Specifically with like LLMs and AI and deep research models, this has never been easier or more accessible. And so the point here is truly an exchange of value. Hey, I did all this work and I had all this thoughtful energy put towards answering a question or set of challenges that you are facing in today's market. It's highly tailored. It's not necessarily one-to-one, but it is at least relevant to their category. It could be shared with probably 20 different potential firms. When Sean ran an innovation firm, they also had a venture capital firm with analysts, and those analysts spent 20% of their time doing deep research into a particular industry, startups looking at white space. They compile that into a report and they give it away. It's a real soft call to action at the end. Hey, if this report is interesting to you, it can help implement. More importantly than any of that, it helped the potential client see how Sean and his team saw the world, saw their point of view, but then also benefited from the free info that they gave them. Particularly helpful in regulated areas like legal and fintech. Yeah, giving away your secrets is a nice bow on top. They'll start conversations, that's for sure. Now, if those deep dives help 20 potential customers in an industry, this building of an individual thing is about giving one thing to one person who is your key decision maker or stakeholder. Can you make a unique deliverable, concept, prototype specifically for that person in an industry, in that department, at that company? It should be easy for you to make, a nice show and tell, highly valuable to them. You'll see Caleb at the front of the screen there. He's a partner at a software firm we've loved working with. They've gotten incredibly good at making rapid prototypes using generative AI and different companies' APIs. And so they built a couple prototypes for specific firms, and they've closed decent sized projects by saying, we see your API, this is how we use AI, here it is in a Loom video, what do you think? And that landed meetings and that landed deals. For you, find a thing that is easy to create, highly valuable, and give them away in a thoughtful way, because it does take time. But build things for people that, this is a thing that doesn't scale, but it is valuable and very specific. All of those efforts, hopefully, should lead to a sales call, should lead to at least your first call with the person you're hoping to serve. A friendly reminder to us all, the first call is about them. It's not about me. It's not about Madison. It's not about our fancy team. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. It matters a little bit. Give them time and space to talk. The client or prospect should be doing 80% of the talking. Having a tight script for your first 30 minutes is helpful. I think quick intros, maybe 2 minutes about the firm, having clear slides that you can quickly click through, or you sent them ahead of time in your capabilities deck, which is the back screen that we built for a client in the back. Ask them enough questions to be dangerous, have them have time to ask you questions, end on time, figure out a healthy next step. Congrats. If you did that well, you finish your first call. Now what? How do you stay top of mind after that first call without being desperate? It's a topic we get asked about all the time, especially for folks in professional services. Your sales cycles are 3 to 18 months. That's a long time from first call to being ready to sign a statement of work. Instead of just saying, hey, you ready to buy yet? Or, hey, quick check-in. That's what we're going to be going through next. Because for touches 2 through 20, again, the goal is adding value, being respectful, reinforcing the idea of being a trusted advisor, not bothering them saying, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? The first way that we do that is with newsletters. Again, most of our stuff is one-to-one, but this is one-to-many. We recommend two different approaches to newsletters: company newsletters and personal newsletters. For company newsletters, you can see a few of the ones that we've done for folks we've served, but showcasing examples of work, client testimonials, things the firm thinks is interesting. The township folks love shipping AI prototypes on a weekly basis, and so that's been a fun thing that we've worked with them. I think setting up in MailChimp is a great way if you want emails in people's inboxes. But then we've also seen LinkedIn newsletters have a really low barrier to subscribe, and it just shows up in your little LinkedIn notification. So we've been cross-posting with clients in email and MailChimp, but some just choose one or the other. For personal stuff, in personal newsletter from Paul to my friends and family, my list of 200, maybe some prospects that I meet along the way, that can just be plain text, personal riffs on ideas that come to mind, stuff I'm reading, YouTube videos I think I'm watching, or stuff I'm seeing with clients. It's just a way to stay in touch, but it is a way to have passive touches over time. Candidly, I wish I was doing one. I wanted to start one at the end of the year. We are not perfect. We don't do everything well. I wish I had a newsletter. I hope to have a newsletter soon. Secondly, high impact webinars. It is a great middle of funnel way for folks to raise their hands. The goal is to speak to a direct pain point, something that they are experiencing in their sales cycle or their industry or their team. And the pain point ideally directly connects to a light engagement type. If you're doing an engagement on challenges in HR, what is your design sprint or assessment in HR? This might sound like common sense, but I think it's not, that connection isn't always made. Hey, here's the webinar, here's the engagement, and then here's the broader engagement. The goal with these webinars is to overwhelm them with value. Don't hold anything back, share your secrets. People should walk away saying, wow, that was a lot. That was fantastic. So much value. Candidly, I'm a little overwhelmed. It's also particularly helpful if the partner or consultant running the webinar has deep experience doing the thing with the content and ideas. We use LinkedIn events pages as a way to organize these, as opposed to Zoom or as opposed to whatever platforms are out there. I know we're on Demio right now, but for registrations, it allows you to connect to your ICP. If you invite an ICP to a webinar, it shows up as a little notification, and that's a low barrier. You're not spamming their inbox. The registrations also show up as social proof to see all who's registered. You can also email people, right? That is a good way of reaching out to people. Finally, with webinars, it is a forcing function for you to create keystone content. This webinar was a forcing function for Sean and I to land our thoughtful outbound motion here at Madison. It could be and do the same thing for you. You get a recording that can be clipped up into smaller clips. The long recording can be shared with people who didn't make the webinar. Individual slides from this post or from whatever you make can be shared as their own posts. It's a thoughtful touch that has a lot of repurposing opportunities. Consider hosting a webinar every quarter. Let's talk next about assessment-based outreach. It's pretty easy to create a tool like a free assessment using web tools. If you send it to folks, to prospects, to potential clients, you can learn a lot about their business, about what they're going through, enhancing your ability to serve them. Maybe it's as simple as a Google Doc or a Google form that serves more as a prototype. In his previous experience, Sean built this growth innovators assessment. Basically, he used publicly available data from big firms about their investments in research and development, and then looked at how those investments in R&D were translating to greater enterprise value. Basically, you put this in, what did you get out? They made a framework, they made an assessment, and then used that to start interesting conversations with companies. And those companies who hopped on those calls could see how they were doing compared to their peers. Most importantly, regardless of where you land in the assessment, whatever quadrant it is, there is a natural engagement leading from that discovery. Oh, you're in the bottom right? Cool, we have 3 things that we could do with you to help you go from bottom right to top right or whatever. Connect your assessment to an engagement, and that is a way to do biz dev, at least with this. We do believe in sending things, but don't send swag. No one cares about Madison. No one cares about your company. They're humans who have feelings, who want to be seen and heard and respected. Having your logo on a cup or something is, I don't know. You can get more creative. Send a book. People don't really throw them out. Celebrate milestones with champagne. If they get sick and don't show up to a call, a client or a prospect, Uber eats them some soup. Get creative, but most importantly, make a system to it. Make Will Guadara proud and systematize some unreasonable hospitality with clients. I'm really glad I got to make that reference. Speaking of hospitality, consider hosting a 3-hour dinner. A curated group of people at a meal together. Good things can happen. Host them at your own home or host them at a fancy restaurant. It's not about you. There's no pitch. It's about introducing good people to each other and building real relationship. I think you could also do this around a conference, like a dinner or breakfast before or after a conference. That could be an interesting play. Consider personable video. It's a great way to put a real name and face to a headline on LinkedIn. Darren McKee on LinkedIn is a major proponent of this. He's the expert in this. It's where I got some of this inspiration. 60 to 90 second video response in the LinkedIn app. You have to do it in the app is a great way to stand out, but probably not a great first touch. I learned this the hard way. It's too personal, too soon. But as a fast response to inbound, I think it's helpful. I think it could work if you're on it and you can respond quickly. You can try it. It might be uncomfortable. It's not for everyone, but it is something that should be in your toolkit. Next, this gets into equipping your champion. Sales decisions, especially by committee, especially 6-figure ones, happen when you're not in the room, full stop. So you should do all that you can to equip the folks who are advocating for you, especially in long sales cycles. And so how does this look like in reality? Build out a list of, here are the 10 steps that I would do if I were you, 10 steps for implementation. They won't do it, but they'll see how you think. You can build out a 1-page business case. Your pitch with clear outcomes and financial incentives that align with executive goals should be on 1 page. If it's not on 1 page and you can't get it on 1 page, you probably don't have a qualified opportunity. There's a guy named Nate Nasrallah at a company called Fluent. He's the king of this right now. A lot of that has inspired my perspective on this. Additionally, equip your stakeholders with key questions that might shape their conversations about their RFP. If there is an RFP, do whatever you can to make your champion look good. If the client is looking at a movie of their issue, show them you've seen the movie before by what you send over. They're at the inciting event. Help them, show them that you've seen the narrative arc backwards and forwards. You know how it ends. You know how to navigate them to the happy ending. Put it on a page and send it to them. Finally, we don't believe in manufacturing buying windows, but being there when they arrive. Systems help make that a reality over time. Sorry, I'm seeing there's a few things in the chat that I'm going to quickly check in. Tammy, done personal videos after someone connects with me. Short, thanks. So far, 100% response rate. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Tammy. Systems help make being top of mind and keeping follow-ups and things consistent and reliable. If you don't have a CRM, start there. Be consistent. Have a CRM, even a spreadsheet if you're early. Pay for HubSpot, pay for Adio, pay for whatever makes sense for you. Have a check-in on the calendar to look through deals, look through next steps. Don't ignore it. I think additionally, like having a list of referrals for like attorneys or psychologists or chiropractors is a way to systematize your referrals. But then also we have a document called Ways to Love People. If they're moving, if they had a kiddo, if they're grieving, meet them where they're at. Have something ready that's systematized to send them, not as a way to manufacture relationship, but as a way to reduce the barrier for myself. I want to reduce the barrier for myself of, oh, I heard that you're going through that thing. I've got a thing for you. Make it easy for yourself to love other people. I think that's important and people like to buy from people they like. And so if you can help them with affinity that has nothing to do with your work, I think that's worth exploring. It works best when there's a system and things are on the calendar. I think that's the point. That concludes our tactics, our individual things that you can do. but you're pursuing relationships over time. So how might you chain these together in different ways? With everything, it depends on what you're hoping to accomplish. But here are two different campaigns or plays that we've put together to help you visualize what all this together might look like. So the first one is an event-based campaign. And the trigger at the front really relies on a publicly available piece of information being shared on the internet. That's like the trigger. That's the top of the funnel. That could be a Google alert on a certain company or an industry or person aligned with your point of view, an ICP. You could also keep an eye out on PitchBook or Crunchbase. You could also create a niche LinkedIn feed of your companies and folks you want to follow, so you're just getting information about your prospects. You know the triggers because you have a great unified theory, because you have a great point of view. You're on the watch for folks that you're hoping to serve. There's a trigger, whatever that is for you. You send a connection request. You post a few more times on LinkedIn. Maybe you send them a DM saying, I want to help you thrive in this new role or environment or situation. Or maybe you have legal expertise navigating complex financial environments. You post more on LinkedIn. You ask them to subscribe to your newsletter. Maybe you send them a book. You invite them to a webinar and then a dinner and then a podcast over the course of 6 to 12 months. That's building a relationship. That's not spamming someone to buy from you. It's authentically inviting them into your world and life and ideas. Even if they say no to all those invitations, they know you care. They know you're trying. They probably at least have a hint that you would want to serve them. And that's worth doing, especially in the space of professional services. I think all these things are really worth doing. Two things at the end of this one, and then we'll go on to the last one. This could also apply to your list of 200 personas. Instead of the trigger being an event, it's using your list of 200, connecting it to personas, and then adding them on LinkedIn. When that person in that list connects with you, you could do this over 6 months to eventually grab coffee or set up a call. Additionally, back to our authority marketing little pedestal, there are 32 LinkedIn posts that are thoughtful, high value, intentional, and geared towards your ICP. Those LinkedIn posts are doing a lot of the work here. Don't forget. Secondly, the Dream 100 play. This is from a gentleman named Michael Port and is most relevant to folks who have a limited number of potential buyers. Think Fortune 100, state agencies. We're building a list of 1,000 people and churning through it. Doesn't work because you will alienate 98% of the people that you are trying to serve. You have to be really thoughtful because each lead is a goal. Each lead is gold. And I'm not talking scarcity mindset here. I think it's just a reality in the number of stakeholders that you are ideally trying to serve. And so as you'll see, if you look a little bit closer, there's still the newsletter and the connection requests and the webinar invitations, but some of the tactics get a little bit bigger. One of them is, hey, I'm in town for a conference, would love to set up coffee or a meal. Maybe you are in town. Maybe you're not in town. But if they say yes, then you have to be in town. And so that means a flight or it means a dinner. Being willing to fly across the country, though, does make an impression. Secondly, some sort of deep dive on their account, spending the time, energy, and investment, having a strong point of view on their industry, et cetera. That third one, hosting a private summit in Palm Springs during Coachella. That's big, right? But also it's high touch. It's very authentic. There's also a huge assumption on this particular play that you have a biz dev budget, all right? You have thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to invest in these dream accounts because these deals are 5, 6, 7 figures. You have budget to play with. Another thing here that isn't on this is like hosting peer groups, roundtable discussions of thoughtful folks doing interesting work. Again, each relationship or touch toward these relationships should be treated like gold. Investing in them, being thoughtful, being caring, having thoughtful LinkedIn posts across it, that adds up. The point here, and then we'll start to wrap and move to Q&A. The point is that you can script these processes. You can track them in a CRM. You know what they are. The timeline might be 6 months, but you can script it and you can systematize it and you can track it. So you know where you're going over time. That more or less concludes Madison's approach to authentic outbound. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for being here. It seems like most people have been here the entire time, so no one's dropped, which is great. This is how to work with us. If anything resonated, we do authority marketing with most of the folks that we work with. Marketing in a box is a sort of more not off the shelf, more customized way of doing marketing, long form content, webinars, website stuff, podcasts, CRM setup, audience shaping, et cetera, et cetera. Occasionally we do ad hoc stuff, one-off things for people who need it, but hopefully, most importantly, hopefully something that I shared is helpful to you on your biz dev journey. Thanks for tuning in. But more than anything, love and serve people. Don't do business development, and you'll be just fine. What questions do you have? Or comments, or concerns, or what did I miss? Feedback is a gift. And I know I didn't get everything right. Talk more about peer groups. Okay, Sean. People who are experiencing pain points across industries, whether it's CFOs at legal firms, CEOs at education, finance, policy firms, or people who are sharing pain points across industries want to hear from their peers. And so could you, as a trusted advisor, curate small group discussions and say, hey, we're going to do a quarterly small group roundtable for 90 minutes that I will curate. There's no selling. It's just your peers across the country, across your industry, sharing secrets in a trusted small group decision or a small group context. We've seen it work in a couple different contexts. We're exploring it, but I do think, being the curator of small groups to create real relationships, to create real value, to create safe spaces, if you will, I think that's a unique place to build into and to curate, both for you to understand what your clients are dealing with, but then also for them to have a place to commiserate with each other. Josh, for someone in a small firm and don't have a full-time sales or BDR, what percentage of time would you recommend devoting towards sales, biz dev versus client billable work? That's a really good question. I think if I look at my day, the first 2 hours of my day are like our most valuable tasks, where don't interrupt us from 8 to 10 in the morning. 10 to 2, 10 to 3, 10 to 4 is mostly client work. And for me, the last hour or so of the day on a good week is sales and biz dev. My experience doing a lot of work, helping build a firm and doing sales and posting on LinkedIn a lot, candidly, Josh, I spend about an hour a day on sales. I think that's my perspective. Maybe Sean in the comments, if you have another take on that, would love to hear your thoughts. Vanessa, I love the step-by-step process you shared, Paul. Another one that I'm dabbling, not sure how it fits here, is leveraging partnerships, yes, with other people in the industry where we can make mutual introductions. Channel partnerships are huge. We're setting up a CRM right now for one of our clients. They do government work and policy work. I think thinking about your strategic partners in a materially different way should be on here. I think that's a really good ad, Vanessa. You're not selling to them, but you do need to be top of mind for them. So in your CRM, have those contacts at those firms be identified as partners, not as folks you're trying to sell. The playbook is probably 60 to 70% the same. Still invite them, still engage with them on LinkedIn, still grab drinks with them. And then maybe get like more specific. Maybe the ask isn't a sales conversation, but it is a who in your network do you know? It's a lead list sharing maybe is a thing you could take action on. Great point of strategic partnerships, especially for professional services folks. Those referrals are so important. I think this is an idea for a LinkedIn post for me. Where do I actually land on my own thoughts on this topic? Thanks for asking that, Vanessa. James, for the campaigns you mentioned, how much do you lean on automation, either by email, LinkedIn, or other channel? Any tools you like? There is an aspect of Notion. There's an aspect of email. We aren't using a ton of automation. I think we use some AI in the background, but not a ton of automation because I think the automation that I can confidently talk about is time blocks on my calendar. What am I doing every day and every week that I know I'm doing this thing? I don't know, James. I don't know if I'm answering that as well as I could. We do have a tool on the back end for LinkedIn to schedule stuff on behalf of our clients. We have another tool that helps us do outbound LinkedIn connections, but nothing beyond that. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if there's more specifics I could go into. Tammy, how many people would you recommend in an online peer group discussion? I think 6 to 10. CEOs are busy. You don't want people to not show up, but you don't want too big of a group. So I think 6 to 10 people, but top of funnel, send it to 30 to 40 people. That's your lead list. Send them an email, send them a survey in that email saying if they're interested or not, add them to the list, have a deadline, say the first call is going to be on this date, or worst case, have a multiple groups per Sean. Chris, thank you for the kind words. Fun to see you around the space in Evanston, and thanks for the kind words. Appreciate it. 1 or 2 more questions. Otherwise, I will let you go. Maybe you have a 1 o'clock. Maybe you have lunch. I know I do. I don't have a 1 o'clock, but I do have lunch. We'll go get lunch. Friends, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your attentiveness. Hopefully this was helpful.